welcome back to the channel. This is the MINIBAY from DF Audio. This is a 40-point audio patch bay meant for, I would say, the desktop artist. It uses quarter-inch TRS sockets in the back, and you use standard Eurorack patch cables to patch in your synths, effects units, your mixer, etc. So you can have great flexibility in how you access these devices during a live gig. First, a quick run-through of what synths I have going. This is the Yamaha KX88 played live, which triggers the Kawai K3M sound modules doing those marimbas. I do this live. And the percussion is coming from this Korg percussion module DDM220. And this is also hooked up to the Korg Poly 61, and the Poly 61 is receiving an arpeggiator trigger input from the Korg percussion module. That means I can trigger the arpeggiator on the Poly 61. And all of these are going through that MINIBAY patch bay. And I also have a couple of effects hooked up to the patch bay, among them the specular tempest with a stereo delay in this case. There are words that surround the use of patch bays, words like normaling, half normalings, etc. I won't go into too much detail about that here. I have another video coming later where I go into greater depth and details about that. And so basically you use a patch bay and this MINIBAY as well as a hub for connecting synths, modules, effects, etc. and your mixer inputs as well. And that's what I've done here. I've hooked up my mixer's input 1, 2 and 3, 4 at the back of this MINIBAY, which uses stereo sockets, TRS connectors. And they're labeled very clearly, and those labels also show up on the front of the patch bay very clean. So I've set up my mixer's input on patch point 1 through 4 at the bottom row, and above it I have the outputs of my two synths, the K3 and the percussion module from Korg. The input and output of the Boss chorus comes up on the first effect point. I've also hooked up the specular tempest with a stereo delay, so that means I'm using 3 effect points for that, 1 in and 2 out. And the output of that Korg Poly 61 comes up at patch point A10 on the front here, also hooked up in the back. So that means I have all the inputs at the bottom row and the outputs at the row above it, so I'm following standard patch bay convention here. And since I've set up this MINIBAY now to operate as a normal patch bay, it means I can play the synths going from the output to the input with no patch cables. So the difference between a normaled and a half-normaled patch bay, well, we'll get back to that in the later video. If you unscrew the MINIBAY 12 small screws, you can access a packet of dip switches that lets you choose between normal and half-normal mode. I have to say it's a little bit annoying to have to unscrew those 12 screws for that. But once done, it works, and I've set up this MINIBAY here now to be normaled at the 5 first connections and half-normaled for the rest. So that means that the K3 and the Korg percussion module being normaled flows directly to the inputs of the mixer 1 and 2 with no patch cords plugged in. But once I do that, I break that connection and I have to take that signal elsewhere, and I take it out of that Korg percussion module and into the specular tempest input for the delay effect. And since that was a stereo delay out, I have to route those 2 stereo outs, the left and right, and I route them into the inputs of the mixer 3 and 4. So now that percussion drum machine will not go into the input 2 of the mixer, but it will be routed through the delay and into the input 3 and 4 on the mixer. As you now can hear. The K3 will still flow from its output through the input 1. Because there's no patch cable here to break the connection. But I can do that. Let's patch in that chorus. So I go out of the synth, into the chorus, and out of the chorus, and into channel 1 again. It's distorting a little bit here. That's my fault. But you see the flow? By breaking the connection, I can route the signal elsewhere. So let's focus on that Korg Poly 61. So far, it's only coming up at the output jack there, the A10. So let's take that output and route that into the chorus. And let's go out of the chorus and into an available input. For example, input 2 of the mixer. And now I can play that Korg Poly 61 with a little bit of chorus. So in a somewhat quick and dirty way, I've showed you the basic operation of a patchbay, and the purpose of the patchbay is to be able to route signals here and there with the use of patch cables, quick and fast when you need it. So now I want to access that chorus from the Korg percussion drum machine instead. So now I take the output of the Korg drum machine, going into the chorus, going out of the chorus, and into the specular tempus delay. In a live situation, this would be much faster to do than to rewire the mixers, etc., with its auxiliary synths and things like that. Another bonus of this MINIBAY is that it has a couple of passive mixers. At the top right there, we have some inputs, and you can route signals into that and take the outputs going back to your mixer's input. So this is a little feature that I think would come very much in handy if you want to patch in a new gear, quick and easy, again, in a live situation. I've had this for quite a while, actually. I was reluctant to receive it to begin with. I couldn't really see if this would benefit my setup. I'm definitely not a desktop artist, and I'm more relying on rack-mounted patch bays for my setup in the studio. But I was intrigued, and since I was in the middle of making a larger patch bay video, which will be coming later, I said yes to receive it and try it out. And I have to say, it's built very well. It's sturdy, it has a lot of patch points. I could not fault it in any ways during my setups and tests here. I couldn't see it color the sound in any way, nor should it. It's just a patch bay. And apart from those dip switches to change the normaling, I think this is a solid product. It's not something I would use in my setup in the studio, I have to admit to that. But if you are a desktop artist, you're doing live gigs, you want to be able to patch synths, modules, effects units, etc. At the drop of a hat, in the middle of a gig, this could definitely be something you'd be interested in. So check out the video description. I think this retails for around $160 plus shipping. As always, I'm Espen Kraft. I am the 80s, sometimes the 2020s. See you in the next video. Cheers.